Today we're going to talk about work-life balance and a bit of a new concept called work-life integration. Now the term work-life balance is floating around for many years, and most people have a solid understanding of what work-life balance means for them personally. The term implies that there is a sum of work and life, and those two make up the 24 hours you have in each day. So today's topic is inspired by a book I was just reading. It's called Radical Candor. I'm gonna put the link in the description below. Take a look at it, it's really interesting. It doesn't matter if you're an engineer, whatever, individual contributor or a manager, whatever. It's really good, I can only recommend it. Have a look. So if you take this work-life balance thing seriously, there are certain things in your day which you would need to attribute to work, and other things which there's a hard line in between, which you attribute to life. Meaning you do one thing and then it counts as 5 minutes you spend on work and 5 minutes which you may spend on life. As with many things in this world, it's not that black and white. And in this book there is an interesting concept which she calls it work-life integration. And I was thinking about it, and then my first reaction was a bit like, work-life integration seems like we're trying to melt work and life into this one thing, which in the end would only lead us to spend more time working and more time thinking about work. But the argument is pretty simple, and let's give it a spin. So it's called work-life integration because we as humans spend a considerable amount of time of our lives at work or doing some sort of work. Now, instead of having a work-life balance where it's black and white, we should think about how we can do meaningful things in life which are, which make us happy outside of work, and maybe also help us and benefit at work. And the same thing goes for spending time at work, should make us happy outside of work, and the life outside work should not influence our performance at work. So you need to have a healthy life so you can do good work, and you need to have a healthy environment at work so you can have a good life outside of work. So all in all, straightforward approach, and I think that's a good way to think about it. Many things in life you can't easily put into the work or life bucket. So it makes sense to think about work-life integration in a broader sense. And now that we presented this topic, I want to talk about a couple of things you can do to manage your work-life integration, to make it better, make it more stable, and a couple of tips which you can apply to make your work life healthier and your life healthier, so to say. So the first big general topic is how much time do you spend at work and how much time do you spend doing things you really enjoy. Not every human is the same. Some people are extremely passionate about work and they have fewer ambitions outside of work, and some people do work hard and efficient, but they have a ton of commitments outside of work. So again, we can't simply say that a number of hours makes you a good or a bad employee. So we need to find ways to make you as efficient and happy as possible at work and outside of work. Now think about a time in your life, could be a couple of weeks or a couple of months, where you felt really productive. Think about the most productive time you ever spent at whatever job you were doing, and then try to recreate your situation you were experiencing in those weeks or months. So try to think of how was your family situation, how was your, how many vacations did you take, what kind of vacations did you take, what commitments did you have outside of work. Did you do a lot of sports? Did you do a lot of music, other hobbies? Try to think of how life felt back then and take a couple of notes and look at it and try to attribute your effectiveness, efficiency and happiness during that time frame to those points that were happening in your life. And from noting those points down onto paper, you can derive your battle plan. So what is the amount of vacations and the kind of vacations you need to take in a year, for example, to make you as productive as possible? Maybe you need 2 vacations of a week per year, 4 vacations of a week per year, maybe a couple of weekend getaways, maybe a couple of camping trips. Maybe you need to take a couple of weekends with your spouse or your kids, and note it down again. And then in the same thing, try to imagine and try to envision what kind of people you need in those situations with you. Again, family, friends, other relationships, and try to actively put those pieces onto your calendar for the next year or the next 12 months. Now for myself, I know that I need at least one relaxed vacation a year where I can do either a beach vacation or something like that, where I can just for a week or so relax, not think about work too much, and do most of the day stuff that I really enjoy. And then after the relaxed vacation, I need at least one time of the year, preferably like 2 weeks or so, where I can spend time with the family, because I live abroad, so I want to spend time with the family I don't see throughout the rest of the year. And what I need to do to keep myself going for the rest of the year is having shorter city trips, day trips or long weekends where me and the girlfriend, we go to explore another city, another area. It can be an Airbnb trip or a camping trip, or going to a cabin somewhere, skiing somewhere, just doing stuff and exploring the world, because that's something that's important for me, and it's one of my life goals, so to say, to see as much as possible of the world. And that wraps up my big year vacation and work-life planning. So vacations are one part, and the other part are things which happened in that time frame in your daily life. So we talked about sports, we talked about hobbies, music, culture, these kind of things. But also in my life, for example, rituals play a huge role. So think of your daily routine you had in that time frame, and try to derive a daily or a weekly routine that works for you and makes you happy. So for me, that would be to be efficient at work, I need to have my 30-45 minutes of workout in the morning, and then a bit of a breakfast with my girlfriend, and then I go to work. And after work, I usually do something with the girlfriend, with the family, or some hobby like making videos. And be bold about it. If you think that you want to have dinner with the family every day at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., then make it your goal and try to have regular family dinners at that time. The same thing goes for other hobbies and other things you enjoy to do. Don't let work overwhelm everything. Try to have them in your daily or weekly routine as regularly as possible. Of course, it's the routine. It's not like guaranteed to happen every day, but try to make it as regularly as possible. And going from big view of vacation and year planning to rituals which can happen every day, now we end up at every single workday. So the closest Zoom level, so to say. If you need to manage the time you spend at work, you can again do a couple of things. First of all, having a routine in the morning which you plan for can help to go to the office at a certain point in the day. So either if you struggle with arriving there in time, you can have your routine where you get up and you do some exercise or do whatever it is, have breakfast and then leave. And at the other end of the spectrum, if you're struggling to get out of the office, you can, for example, put Outlook or a calendar entry every day at 5:30 or 6 or whatever it is, and treat it like a real meeting, you know, treat it like a calendar event which happens at this point in time, and it will, on most days, it will force you to finish up and wrap up whatever you're doing on this, you know, whatever time it is, 6 p.m. for example, and leave, you know. If you don't have this line at the end of the day, you want to wrap up stuff. You know, things can drag out, you can get sidetracked, and you lose focus. But if you know that, for example, you want to catch a train, or you want to catch a bus, or even if you don't take public transport, if you have this deadline at 6, then you will probably have an easier time doing the work, so, you know, in a way that you can finish it by 6. I've said it before, but if you experience a work situation where you can't leave at the time you plan to leave, you know, not only for a couple of weeks, but over longer stretches of time. So, you know, if it goes on for months and months, that you have to do, you know, whatever crazy night shifts and stuff, and you can't leave at 5 or 6 or whatever, you should probably talk about it with your manager, and you should probably talk about the expectations you have and the expectations that manager has. And, you know, if you can't, you know, arrive at an agreement, then it's maybe time to leave that job and look for something else.